From an undisclosed location somewhere in North America, this is your weekly Truth Be Told Minuteman report, and I am your weekly Truth Be Told Minuteman, Robert Hensley, saying hello and welcoming you to the show. So this week, right, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Merry Yule. Tomorrow is officially the winter solstice here in North America, and yeah, very cool. And just, thinking about the holidays, thinking about Christmas. Bonnie Burkert this week on Truth Be Told Transformation Wednesdays at 3 p.m. She's going to have a guest talking about the pagan origins of not Halloween, of Christmas. And then on Friday, Tony literally has the guy who wrote the book, John Matthews, on the show to talk about all of the kind of origins of Christmas, which a lot of them come from pagan rituals and things before the time of the Christian church. And so they didn't really leave much for me to talk about for the holidays, except, okay, and I'm really excited about this. So they mention him, and we call him, but you'll see why it could be an it. But Krampus, right? Krampus has become kind of a pop culture figure here in the United States over the past 20 years or so. But, right, there's so much more to know about Krampus. So let's get into this, all right? So we today are going to talk about, oh my goodness, and I meant to just switch the screen. There we go. Krampus. All right, so the origins, right, the origin of Krampus is unclear. All right, according to folklorists and anthropologists, they believe that Krampus started kind of pre-Christian times. The Krampus is a horned anthropomorphic figure in Central and Eastern European alpine folklore who, during the Christmas season, scares children who have misbehaved. He is the assistant, if you will, to Saint Nicholas. And the pair visit children on the night of the 5th of December, also known as Krampusnacht. St. Nicholas comes and he's rewarding but well-behaved children with small gifts, usually traditionally oranges, dried fruits, walnuts, chocolate, and the badly behaved ones receive punishment from Krampus in the form of being swatted with birch rods. Right. So he comes and he spanks the kids. Now, Krampus appears in many variations, right? The one that you see on your screen, we see all the time, is very, it's traditional, right? So he has horns, right? Brown or black fur, cloven hooves, a long pointed tongue that lolls about, and he has fangs. He's usually carrying chains, right? Or is wearing shackles, which symbolize the binding of the devil by the Christian church. So originally he didn't have those chains, but after the church got involved and started kind of integrating themselves into pagan beliefs, they, of course, had to, show that he was subservient to St. Nicholas. So we're going to talk about these the established pagan traditions in the region, right? So there was something among kind of the more the Germanics. It was a masquerade of a devilish figure known as Perkt, right? And she was a female, two-legged humanoid goat with a giraffe-like neck, and she wore animal furs. And she was associated with the period between winter solstice and January 6th. And during this time, villagers would wear costumes, and they marched in these long processions, which were known as Perchtenlaufen, which is basically an earlier form of what they'd have now, which is the Krampuslauf, which is the Krampus run. And during these runs, they would these figures they would ply them with schnapps, right? Which is, if you've ever had like peach schnapps, it's just a strong distilled fruit brandy. But the thing is that Perchtenlaufen, right, was looked at with suspicion by the Catholic Church. It was banned by certain civil authorities. However, when we think about the Alpine regions in the past, right? And even sometimes now, it's very sparsely populated. It's a rugged environment. It made it really difficult for anyone, the church, anyone, to really kind of enforce this ban of having Krampus runs. Eventually the church decided that if you couldn't beat them, you join them. So what they did was they introduced St. Nicholas and his good morals, right? And they created what became this partnership between Krampus and St. Nicholas. And of course, St. Nicholas, being a saint, Krampus was subjected to the will of St. Nicholas. Right. So by the 17th century, Krampus had been fully incorporated into the Christian winter celebrations. The Feast of St. Nicholas, which is celebrated in parts of Europe on December 6th, again, that's how Krampusnacht became part of that. So when St. Nicholas night, right, or the Feast of St. Nicholas on the 6th, the night before is when Krampus would come through towns and he would visit homes and businesses, and he would only concern himself with the bad children, right? Meanwhile, St. Nicholas the following night would come, sometimes accompanied by Krampus, right, in case he didn't get all the naughty kids. But then St. Nicholas, appearing in his Eastern Rite vestments of a bishop and carrying his golden ceremonial staff, he would come and he would then give gifts to the good children the following evening. Now, in 1932, after the election of the Dollfuss regime under the clerical fascist Fatherland Front and the Christian Social Party in Austria, they banned Krampus overall, right? He was completely prohibited. And in the 1950s, the government even started distributing pamphlets titled that Krampus is an evil man. But towards the end of the century, there was this popular resurgence of Krampus and Krampus celebrations, and they continue to this day. Now, when we start thinking about this punishment, right, coming from Krampus. So this is where things get a little crazy, right? And this is where people have definitely kind of taken the horror, put the horror into the idea of Krampus. So the rootin, the bundles of birch branches that he carries, and he uses them to swat children. Now, those rootin have a significance in pagan rites outside of this kind of Christian happening of Krampusnacht. The birch branches, in some imagery and in some places, has been replaced by a whip. And in other representations, Krampus carries a woven basket on his back, or a sack. And in older representations of Krampus, not so much now, but in older versions of the story, if you were a naughty child, Krampus would stuff you into his basket and he would take you to the river to drown you. He would eat you, or he would just transport you to hell, right? So all good reasons to be a good little boy or girl around Krampusnacht. Now, Krampus made his way to the United States around 1984. That was the first time that he became known globally, having been portrayed in a horror film about Krampus. And now Krampus has become part of our pop culture here in the United States. We have a resurgence of Krampus carton, or the Krampus cards, right? Because in the 19th century, sending Krampus cards was just as popular as sending a Christmas card, right? And now we have those again. So there's all kinds of stuff Krampus related that has kind of taken Krampus around the globe, and he's kind of an international celebrity in his own right, just like St. Nicholas, or who is kind of the basis of Santa Claus. So let's talk about the different variations of Krampus, right? Because in that region, right, which was on the screen, Eastern Europe. Let me pop that map back up for you there. And again, if you are listening on podcasts or audio podcasts, and you want to see the visuals that are popping up on the screen, you can always visit us on YouTube at Truth Be Told Radio TV. Click on the episode This is episode 47, and you can watch it with all of the graphics. Anyway, so map on the screen, Eastern Europe. So these are the different variations of what they call the companion of St. Nicholas, right? Or the figures that accompany St. Nicholas throughout the territories that, of course, were all part of the original Holy Roman Empire. So there's Belsnickel, who was a German Christmas gift bringer. And there's the Green Man, which is usually represented as a face made from foliage, right? It's kind of the face peering from a wreath with antlers, which is also very closely related to the Holly King and the Oak King in some regions. There's the Yule Goat in Scandinavian tradition. The Yule Goat is thought to have been part of these pagan ceremonies. The Yule Goat, which is kind of a straw effigy. There are the wild men who are sometimes seen accompanying Krampus, and these are men who wear these crazy kind of straw. They kind of look like men wearing their own straw huts, with these kind of crazy branch antlers, birch antlers coming out. Really interesting. If you look it up online, it's really very interesting. Then we've got Nect Ruprecht, who is also a companion to Saint Nicholas in Germany. In Poland, there's a creature called Churon. There's Dead Moros, which is a Christmas figure in Eastern Slavic traditions. And then, of course, you have Santa Claus, which is where we get Santa Claus. And Santa Claus is a legendary figure that's based on St. Nicholas and is celebrated in the Low Countries, right? And he had a companion who was known as Swart Piet, or Black Pete, who used to punish bad children with a row and kidnap them in bags and take them to Spain. Why the bad children ended up in Spain, I'm not really sure. Couldn't find any information on that, but apparently that's where bad kids go. And nowadays, there's no Black Pete. It's just Santa Claus, otherwise known as Decent, and they're given sweets and presents, and all is well with the world. So I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about Krampus and Krampus's origins and why he is such a popular figure here in the United States. I think that, as we become more cynical, the idea of a Christmas tradition in which bad children or naughty people are punished in some way kind of fits our mood as a society, doesn't it? So this has been another live weekly episode of Truth Be Told Minuteman Report. And again, I'm your Truth Be Told Minuteman, Robert Hensley. Thank you so much for watching. Again, be sure to tune in on Wednesdays for Truth Be Told Transformations with Bonnie Burkert. Again, she's talking about the origins of Christmas on her show this week. And then on Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific, Tony Sweet has the original Truth Be Told. And this week, again, he's talking about the origins of the season. And so 3 times a week, me Mondays, Bonnie on Wednesdays, Tony on Fridays. So there's so much Truth Be Told content for you to enjoy. And, if you want to learn more, please feel free to join us on the web. Visit www.truthbetoldworldwide.com and click on that shop button and find some really cool official Truth Be Told merchandise. There's a lot of really interesting stuff there, and there's nothing over the price of $50, right? Which is, it's kind of cool, right? We've tried to keep the price down as much as we could. And if you haven't purchased from the shop for Christmas, it's a little late now, but there's Easter. Easter's coming up. All right, folks. Thanks so much, and we will see you on the flip side.